with Gamer Leaf, the podcast in which one man strives to level up his geekhood and helping you do the same, one battle at a time. Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
Are you a Warmonger? Play Warmonger, the ultimate card game of war. When your cards match, this means war. Battles are fought using a blackjack-like combat system. The highest score, 21, or under wins. Press your luck by turning over more cards to get the highest score, but don't go over 21 or you'll go bust. Warmonger cards can change the outcome of a war. There can only be one true Warmonger. Use your cards to defeat your enemy. The winner of the war gets the cards. Win all the cards to win the game. Warmonger comes with a deck of playing cards with 8 custom jokers. These jokers create more wars and give you more options to get the best score in a war. There are 36 Warmonger cards that give you special powers to defeat your enemy. Use them wisely. You can play solo against robot players, or add robot players to your regular game. Who will be the greatest Warmonger of them all? Only on Kickstarter. Come on, back it now, go!
Sound familiar to you guys? It didn't to me neither, but this is a story of Warmonger, a new game on Kickstarter, which is an ultimate card game of war for 1 to 4 players, by Eric Shefferman, and we were lucky enough to have on Erik, who is the mastermind and creator of this game. Is that correct? Is that how you fall into line, Erik?
That's what I done. I really like playing cards, and I wanted to do something that was playing cards plus a little bit more.
Cool beans. Well, thanks for joining us on Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf. We really appreciate it. So let's rewind a little bit, Erik. How did you get into card playing to begin with?
When I was a kid, for 3 years, we lived 3 houses away from my grandfather. So I got to see him like almost every day, and we used to play cards all the time. And that was one of the happiest things of my life, just spending hours playing cards with my grandfather. And that's what really made me. I like cards. I like the feel of just like playing with cards. I like doing stuff with cards, and I like how you can do innovative things within something as simple as a deck of cards.
Cool. Do you have any? Do you have a specific that you played back then, or that you liked a lot of?
I used to play casino with my grandfather all the time, and I can still remember him saying, 2 for you, 2 for me, 2 for the table. And I just love that.
Cool beans. And did you go on a hiatus, or you been playing cards ever since then?
I also play a lot of Solitaire, which was something I really started doing a lot in college. If you do Vegas type scoring on regular Solitaire, so you pay. I guess you pay $1 for each card, and then for every card that you get up into the top row, you get $5, and then you can just keep score while you're playing. And I've thought that was such an innovative solitaire thing, which is why I wanted to also have a solitaire mode in this game.
Cool beans. Yeah, I remember playing when my family first got a computer, playing Solitaire and having that option. I don't know how they kept score, but I always like to try to earn more money and so on and so forth for that. So you have a new game on Kickstarter called Warmonger. What can you tell us about it, Erik?
Well, it's loosely based on the card game War, which is a game I played as a little kid and stuff. But it addresses a lot of the things that I thought were failings in the game of War, which is in the game of War, if it's just high card wins and you're turning up cards, you're not really doing anything. So what I tried to do is add in things that people are still familiar with so that they can keep with that idea of a pretty quick-paced game, but add in new things so that there's actually stuff for them to do. Presuming that you're familiar with the card game War, the three major things that I did that added to it were, the first one is, instead of just a high card wins, when you do combat and you put 3 cards face down and then turn 1 card face up, instead of that last card just being high card wins, you play like you're playing blackjack, trying to get a total of the highest number you can, 21 or under. So now there's actually stuff for you to do, because you're sitting there and you're trying to turn up cards, and you're trying to get a score then that'll be higher than any of your opponents who are also involved in the war with you. So that gives you some press your luck kind of stuff going on, and you can think like, hey, is he going to chicken out, or is he going to try to get higher than a 17? Do I have to keep going? So that was the first thing I did. And then the second thing that the game gets its name from is there are Warmonger cards that give powers to the player. They're like one-time use powers, and they're all different sorts of things, whether they influence your battle score, or they take away cards from your opponent, or they mess up your opponent's score by, you can change the order of his cards and stuff like that. So those are a separate deck of cards, and they use the artwork of like a playing card's face card, except just half of it, so that there's room on the bottom of the card to explain what the card does. So it still looks like a game with playing cards, except some of these cards are a little different than the kind of cards you're used to seeing. And then the third big difference in the game is that since the combat is now based on blackjack, which is very easy to create rules for, just like a blackjack dealer has rules, there are robot cards that you can play against, or you can add them to a game with other players. And these robot cards all have different rules for how they're going to, continue turning up cards. Some of them maybe only turn up cards till they get a 14 or better. Some want to go to a higher number or better. And then some of them cheat in various ways in the game that make them a little more interesting to play against. And so when you put all that together, you now have a game that you could play solo against a whole bunch of different robots. You can play against other people, so it can be 2 to 4 players, or you can play like 3 people and a robot. And that helps keep the game a little bit fresher, because if you change robots each time, there's always going to be like, all right, but what's that guy going to do? He's not as predictable as your friends.
Cool. But yeah, I really like the whole idea. I know growing up, I played a lot of War, but this adds a whole new concept to it from what I can see.
Yeah, I really like the robots, and one of the other things that I'm trying to do with this to grow the game as a long-term concept is offer a lot of downloadable content. So I started a Facebook group, and I'm going to be posting more and more, and hopefully get some other people involved in designing robots. So like there's a robot there now what that robot does, and it's a downloadable PDF, because it actually takes a full 8.5, 11 sheet of paper as opposed to a card size set of rules. And when he gets cards, he splits them into a low card deck and a high card deck, and then he has rules for how he plays the cards out of that. So that's going to give him a slight advantage, in the war type situations and stuff, because he's able to do the kind of things that you can't. And that makes up for the fact that he can't be like a human and decide whether or not to press his luck. So there's that, but I'm looking forward to creating some other stuff with even more advanced robots. I'm hoping to come up with some ideas for like a state-based system. So like maybe he's peaceful until a certain things happen and stuff like that. And then there's also options for maybe adding in dice, that this robot makes decisions based on some things like that. And that way, the game will keep having these additional robot players that can play that will be new and different, so that even if you're playing solo, you can say like, all right, I'll try these two robots this time, and that's going to be a whole different game.
Cool beans. And so you talk about a Facebook group. I know I recently joined that, and I'll put everything in the show notes, but how would somebody might have said, go and not go into the show notes to click it? How would they go about finding that Facebook group?
I have short links for it. I just don't remember them off the top of my head. Let me see if I can quickly look them up. But there are short links, or if you just go to the igpay.com website and then look at the Warmonger game there, there'll be links to all of the stuff. There's links now. You can even download print and play of the game if you want to check it out.
Okay, and like I said, I'll go ahead and leave links in the show notes, so you don't have to worry about that. But it looks like if you just search Warmonger or Facebook.com /groups and then Warmonger card game, it looks like. So that's how you can find that. And yeah, that's really cool with all you can do the downloadable and whatnot. Cool. Bean. So why did you go Kickstarter on this route?
One of the things that Kickstarter is good for is it's good for testing an idea and seeing how much interest there is for it. And that is always a good step when you're creating a product. So I wanted to do that and basically get a core group of people who are interested in playing the game and who want it. And then, like I said, I want to keep developing the game, keep creating more of that downloadable content, and then maybe sometime in the future when I've built up more of a following, then do something different with it at that point to try to build it even bigger again. But the first thing to do is to just see like, all right, what kind of reception can I get for this? What are people interested in? And get people involved in. I've done enough of the designing of this on my own. I want people involved in saying like, hey, what about if you put in this? What about if you put in that? And Kickstarter's a good platform for getting some commentary like that.
Cool. Bean. Then it looks like you had a really small funding goal to get to when you started, and you've achieved that by over 800%.
That is true. The production plan with this, a big thing that I like to say is publishing is promotion. Every copy of a game that I get out into someone's hands is a copy of a game that people can play and see what my games are like, see what that specific game is like. So it would be nice to have 500 or 5,000 or 50,000 backers and have to do that kind of large print run and that exploding kittens experience. But even without that, it's more important to me that anyone who's interested in the game can get a copy of the game, and that's also why there's a print and play version of it that's just free that you can get, because the first thing is to get the idea of the game out there, and so that's what I'm looking to do, and get it out, get people interested, and then let it grow from there.
Cool. And then you said that it doesn't look like this is your first rodeo. It looks like you created a previous game. What was that?
My previous game was called Dysfunctional Families, which was a take on a really old card game called Happy Families, which is a card game from the 1850s or so. And what I did was it's basically a game sort of similar to Go Fish. It's in that same kind of game family. And what I did to spice it up a little was I added an improv element where when you're looking for someone, you have to say you're looking for, and you name the person and you say because. And the original game was Happy Families, which was like, there was the Butcher family, the Taylor family, the Baker family. In my Dysfunctional Families, there are more families like the Mad Scientist family, and the Cannibals family. And so you would say something like, I'm looking for the cannibal's wife because I need a recipe for finger stew. And so by just throwing on that little improv element, it's an easy improv element for people who aren't used to doing improv to do, but it's at least going to be very unique to your gaming group. Because that's something that I have not enjoyed, say, with games like Cards Against Humanity type games, where all the answers are pre-written on the cards. Because the comedy then is someone else's. And with this, you just have to say, which person from the family you're looking for, and they're interesting families, like I'm looking for the mad scientist's daughter because someone blew up the chemistry class at school. You just start a sentence and you finish it out. So that was also a game where I took the original game, which was you were just looking for members of the families, and I just added that little improv element. Just like in this Warmonger game, I've just added a couple elements that are things you're familiar with, but just in a different way. I'm using them in this game. So that seems to be what I've been doing pretty much style-wise with that, and with some of the games that I'm currently developing.
Cool beans. So, if somebody were interested in one of your previous games, Dysfunctional Family, for instance, is there somewhere they can still get that?
You could get it as an add-on with this Kickstarter campaign, and that game also has a free print-and-play version.
Okay, cool beans. That's awesome. And you said you have some other stuff we were working on. Is there any way we could get some dirt for future if somebody's listening?
I can say I'm very fond of cats.
Okay.
And I don't know if I want to say more than that right now. I kind of want to at least concentrate on this Warmonger game and
for sure
getting stuff rolling.
Okay, cool beans. Now, per se, somebody fell asleep while they were listening, because it wouldn't be because of you or your game. It'd probably be because of my podcast and me releasing too many of them, and they get kind of bored of my voice. So they're suddenly jolted awake, so they don't hit that oncoming traffic, and now they're wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, and they're listening now. Why should they take a chance on Warmonger, especially with all the other great card or board games they have out there, especially on Kickstarter currently?
Well, one of the things that I've noticed, a lot of people take like small card games and they package them in a much larger box. And what I did instead was I went the other way. It comes just in a tuck box, which I have nicely designed to look like a familiar brand of something else that comes in little boxes about that size. And I call it my Pack of Death edition. And so it's nice, all the cards fit in it, and you can just sort of take in your pocket and take it with you. And so it's a fun little game. It's a quick filler game. You can play it 20 to maybe 30 or 40 minutes, and that you can also play it solo, so whatever happens, you got your little deck of cards and stuff with you, and you can play it.
Cool beans. And I also, because we just barely got a copy, a review copy or whatnot, and I love it looks like the Surgeon General even put a warning on your box of cards.
Yes, that all goes with the little Pack of Death concept. Surgeon General's warning: war has been found to be hazardous to your health. There can only be one winner. This winner is known as the Warmonger.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. That's pretty cool. Cool beans. So if me and you were to sit down to play Warmonger, what would play look like? Well, I guess they wouldn't be able to see it because we're on a podcast. What would it sound like? Like, how would we play the game?
Well, the exciting part is when either we put down two of the same card in a skirmish, or when there are a bunch of jokers. There's 5 of them that are "This means war" jokers, and then of course you get to go, "This means war," and that's when we each lay down the 3 cards and put up the other card, and each do our run through trying to get our best score as close as we can to 21. So the This Means War, I think, is really the exciting part of the game, because that's when you take control of stuff, and it's whoever can sort of play their blackjack deal better that wins.
And when I was watching the video, it looked like you don't necessarily have to turn all of your cards over. Like when somebody goes first and then they turn over their cards and decide where they want to stop. Is that correct?
That's how it works. And then, each card you turn up, it starts to be like, well, if you've got like a 17, you need to turn up a card that's either an ace, a 2, 3, or a 4, or in anything higher, you're going to go over 21. So that's where it's like you're playing blackjack, that you have to start to think, all right, do I press that luck, or do I just say 17 is good enough? And that's where the fun starts to come in.
And on some of your Joker cards or Bang cards, it looks like some of them have the option to pick one number or another number.
Yes, the first thing is there's 8 custom Jokers in the deck, and that makes the deck have 60 cards, which then divides evenly for the 2, 3, or 4 players. So that was part of it, and then the other part is by having the Jokers that say This Means War with the Bang, that automatically starts a war with all the players that are playing. And that's important because the This Means War, putting down the war cards and doing that stuff, that's really the fun part of the game. So I wanted to make wars more frequent. That was one of the things with the original card game War. Sometimes it can just go on, and you're just waiting for a war to happen. You put down the cards, and one's got the high card, and they take the card, and it just goes on, and it's very drone-like. So I wanted to make wars to be a frequent part of the game, and so the cards force that to happen.
And there's something about a casualty deck or something. What can you tell us about that?
Okay, when a war occurs, and because the game could have 4 players, it could even be a 4-way war thing. For each player that was involved in the war, one card will go to the casualty pile. And what that does is then everyone's playing with less cards. And again, like I said, the idea of the game is it's 20 to 40 minutes. So by having each war eliminate cards from the whole pool of cards that are in play, that helps drive the game to an end quicker, kind of.
Do you pick what goes into that pile, or just the top one?
You grab the pool of cards that were in the war and shuffle them and pull out cards randomly.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I remember playing with my brothers and sisters, and it seemed like there was a big trade-off because, kind of just the cards last them forever.
Right, and another thing with the way the combat in this works is, in the original card game War, if you had a 2, it wasn't very useful, because like almost every other card's going to beat it. Or every other card, I guess, is going to beat it, because an ace would beat it too. Whereas in this game, if you're trying to get a higher score, and it's blackjack scoring, sometimes it's very useful if you turn up a 2, because that means you're not going to go over 21. So all of your cards have the ability to be worthwhile and powerful cards.
Cool beans. And I don't remember if I asked about this or not, but there's a really low funding goal. Why so low?
Because it was more important to me to get copies of the game out to anybody that wanted it than to try to go for some large amount of money. As you can see from the deck you've got, the art's already done, the game's already done. So to me, it doesn't make sense not to then get the game into someone's hands so they can actually start playing it, give me feedback, they can enjoy it. They can start looking at maybe there's someone that has some ideas for a whole different robot design I never thought of. And all of those things then add more value to the game.
Cool beans. Yeah, that's awesome. So going back to the robots and whatnot, do you have a favorite one?
The one that I think is most interesting is a frugal robot, which is one of those things that really comes about because of the nature of the play. So he's called the Cheapskate, and whereas in a normal battle a person, like I said, they'll put down 3 face down cards and turn 1 card face up. The cheapskate only puts 2 cards face down and turns 1 face up. And in the nature of playing blackjack, often you can get a very good score with just 3 cards. So what happens with him is he's going to play. If he loses, he's only put 3 cards in, towards that war, whereas everyone else, if they lose, they've put 4 cards in.
Okay.
So he's got sort of this weird advantage by just being a cheapskate.
Cool.
That's what I mean by the robots. There's so much opportunity to just make little weird things and then see how they play. And it's interesting then, even when you're playing solo and you're playing, say, solo against 3 other robots, and just like you're playing, but you're also observing how they interact with each other. Because that's when you start to see, like, wow, that cheapskate really doesn't lose cards as fast as everyone else. So even if he's, not doing better in that, in the sense of winning wars, he's winning them equally as everyone else. But when he loses, he doesn't lose as much, so he still winds up with more cards.
Cool.
So that's one that I thought was kind of interesting. But I've tried to make each of the ones that are in the game set as different and interesting as possible. And then, like I said, the ones that I'm developing and putting up on the Facebook group, because they're a downloadable, printable page, I've got so much more space to put rules on. So I'm really trying to come up with a lot more advanced rules for them to use.
Cool. And then, are you doing stretch goals with the goal being so low?
I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to phrase that. I'm going to be working on some stuff now to describe stuff to people. I see how they generate enthusiasm, but by the same token, I'm really looking to give people as much as possible, no matter what happens. And that's why, again, it keeps coming back to, you can get a free print and play of the game and try it out on your own. You can get the downloadable content. That's all for free. I'm really just trying to get the joy of the game out into the world is the biggest thing.
Cool. Yeah, you don't get that too much, or I don't hear that too much, at least. Anyway, yeah, it sounds really cool. So, is there any notable reviewers or anybody that's going to be reviewing it?
Well, you're notable.
There you go. Thanks.
Yeah.
And I want to say Logan Chops, his YouTube channel, will hopefully be doing it pretty soon here too, as well.
Yes.
Cool beans. Now, let's see here. During playtesting, was there ever anything that you had to scrap because it just wouldn't work?
Yes. There was a big thing. Since it winds up being a bunch of people playing blackjack against each other, you have to figure out who goes first, because they're at the biggest disadvantage. And what I originally had was this whole initiative system, like you could think of like a complex tank battle game, where it's like, oh, this tank has this initiative, so he fires first, and then that tank has that initiative, and like it was this whole thing of negotiation as to which player would turn up their cards and compute their score first, and then who would go second. And there had to be a whole bunch of cards that each player gets. You initiative 1, initiative 2, and so on. And what I came up with instead was the most recent player to win a war is the superpower. Like they have the nuclear superpower. Uh-huh. And then they calculate their score last, and it just starts with the player to their left, and it just goes around the table. And it was interesting because doing that sped up the play so much, and it doesn't, because someone's different is going to keep winning the wars, so that card's going to move around the table, and you always have some amount of advantage depending on how close you are to the person who has the card on their right, kind of, as the play goes to the left around the table. So doing that just made the game play like a lot faster And it had seemed at first like, oh no, you really have to negotiate who's going to get to go first and second. And instead it turned that just going around the table, just like, in poker, no one questions. It's like the dealer and then the person and then the next person and then the next person. And that works out just fine. So that was a big thing that I scrapped. And it was interesting because it seemed so important. And then once I took it out and played, and it was like, wow, just everything's smoother.
Cool, Colby. And so the person with if I understand correctly, the person with the superpower card goes last. Is that right?
Right. So this way, they have the advantage of, if everyone was trying to get the highest score possible and they all went over 21, he just wins. Like, you know what I mean? He doesn't have to turn up anything. He's just fine as is. And the closer you are to that, you have a better idea how high a number you have to get. Because if all the people who already went before you say the highest number they got was 13, it's pretty easy in blackjack to beat a 13.
Cool, Colby. And so what's the part of the game that you're most proud of?
I'm really proud of the way the Warmonger cards, when you look at them, they use the faces from the face cards, but just, the top half of them, like I said, so there's room on the bottom for text, because the playing card art is such beautiful art, and you only ever see it on playing cards, and only in that, design and context. And so I've taken them and now I'm using them in a whole new way. And so I'm really proud of coming up with that. And actually, similarly, the robot cards are also face card art, except that the colors are inverted, black with white, so that they don't look as human. So I'm really happy with how all of that art went. But it came first from doing the Warmonger cards and being like, hey, there'll be these people that are just like the people in the population that make up the playing card deck, except they're special.
Cool, Colby. And then I'm really excited to get this to the table with my kid. That looks like it's pretty family friendly and that anybody can play it.
It is. It basically, you have to be able to read the Warmonger cards. So there's a bit of reading, and sometimes the jokers each have numbers on them, so they're not like wild card jokers. They can be any of the numbers that are on them. But if you've got like a joker that's say a 3, 6, 9 in front of you, and then an ace, then you're like, okay, so the ace could be a 1, so that could be a 1 plus a 3, or a 1 plus a 6, or a 1 plus a 9, or the ace could be an 11, so that's 11 plus a 3, or 11 plus, and it winds up being a bit of math.
There you go.
It could be a good challenge for your kids, depending on how old they are and stuff.
There you go. Cool, Bean. So if somebody takes a chance on this and backs it, when should they anticipate getting their games? I know you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver.
That's true. Since because of the lower number I'll be printing and the quicker turnaround time of that printer, they should be getting them within probably about a month to 2 months, pending, because it's middle of winter and some postage things or whatever. But it should actually come out much quicker than on the Kickstarter campaign, where because I had to promise a delivery date, I was promising it based on the potential of doing the print in China thing, and then you're waiting months, and then it takes a month for it to get here by boat and stuff like that. So that's actually I will be significantly beating that time.
Cool, Colby, and that's exciting. Cool, and yeah, it looks like a really fun game. I'm excited to play it and bring it to the table, like I said. Now, going on to the next portion of our podcast, I don't know if you've listened to any of them, Eric, but the next portion is AAA. It's not AAA or whatnot, the car company that'll pick you up if you have a problem. It's actually Adventures in Application Acquisition, where we talk about an application, be it for tablet, cell phone, computer, or even a video game, and it doesn't necessarily have to be related to card games or whatnot. We've had anybody say, somebody did a travel app, somebody did an app where you can take a picture of anything and it'll tell you whether or not it's a hot dog or whatnot. Is there an application you use a lot of that we can talk about for a minute?
One thing I actually play a lot of is Solitaire in Windows. They really hooked me with the absolute most basic thing.
Cool beans. So what do you like about it?
Um, like I said, I used to play a lot of solitaire with cards, especially when I was in college. It was just a great stress reducer. But the ability to just have it there on the screen, and you can pop it up, and then a phone call or something happens, you can pop it away, and then you can come back to it. That part I love, and I love the fact that it keeps the Vegas scoring for you. So that I used to have these pieces of paper with lists of, all right, so each new game costs you 52, and then each card you turn up, you get 5, and then you have to do the math, and you have this big, long running list of what your score is. And I like that it's just Windows takes care of it, and it's all right there in the software. So that just makes it easier because I can just look and see, like, all right, I'm losing today or I'm winning today.
Cool beans. So if you own the rights to Windows Solitaire, what would be one thing you would do to make it a better application, Eric?
I think, well, one of the things is their scoring is a little bit weird. It isn't exactly Vegas scoring because they put in some sort of time element that I think makes you play sloppy solitaire, because it's more important the way they score it for you to rush through the game than for you to necessarily pay the best attention to what you're doing.
Okay, cool. So, we hope to make a green podcast. So if the creators of that are listening or ever listening, hopefully they can fix that and make an option where you're not forced into playing the sloppy solitaire with the time limit. So that'd be cool.
Yeah, that's something I'm really hoping to do sometime in the future. I used to be a software developer, but that was early 90s. But I'd really like to make a computer version of Warmonger because, all the players that you're playing against can be these robot cards, which are they're just following rules. So they're very easy to implement. And I think that would be another great way to get the idea of the game out into the world.
Well, that'd be cool. Yeah, an app that we can play on our phones and whatnot. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Cool beans. So minus coming there to New York to stalk you in your hometown or whatnot, how would people go about finding out about you or your projects or whatnot?
The best thing is igpay.com, which is a jillion years ago. I liked the idea of Pig Latin, and I took igpay.com, and it kind of sat around doing nothing for a long time. And then when I started doing the game publishing, I was like, oh yeah, I could use that, and put the little piggy logo on it.
Cool.
So just go to igpay.com and you can find the stuff. And like I said, there's the free downloads of the 2 games and all that.
Cool beans. And we'll make sure that we put everything on the show notes as well. But yeah, we wanted to really thank you for coming on, getting geeky with Game Relief with us. We really appreciate it, Eric.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Now on to Kickstarter Corner. It's just me today. Sorry, fellows. Well, anyways, what game do we have to talk about today? A couple there are. The Convergents, a comic-themed card game. This is by Johnny Hinkle. It looks like a really fun game. I've yet to get a copy of it, but I know that I've yet to get a copy of it. I was going to play test it, or I was going to review it. I haven't got it yet. But Joshua Burall, who is Logan Chops Reviews, he's got the preview up on his website, so that's awesome. It is a super-powered comic-themed battle card game about choosing a team and an objective to try to protect the city you love or hate. They're about $10,000 away from their goal. When you hear this episode, they'll have 2 days left, about 48 hours probably. They end on December 1st, which is Friday. So check them out on the Kickstarter. Hopefully you'll back it. Hopefully we can push it up to the 19,500 within that 48-hour time period. Let's see what we can do, fellow geekies, fellow geeks with me. Are you with me or are you against me, I guess? That's something people say. Well, maybe they don't. I don't know. But anyways, we got Historical Conquest 2.0. This game, it looks really fun. You get a little bit of history while you're learning. Unfortunately, they canceled funding, but you can go ahead and contact them on Facebook. We'll make sure we go ahead and leave their link there on there for you. It's an epic card game to build civilization and defend it. Use people of the past to dominate the world or bring world peace. You decide. Looks like a really fun game. They were pretty far off, so hopefully they'll go ahead and revamp and relaunch. We'll let you know. We'll keep you updated for sure. And then we also got Random Coping Chess. Remember, you can go back and listen to the episode. We recently released that. We talked to Trevor and Isaac about it. And this is a great game. You add an element of storytelling and revere to chess, making it accessible and engaging in new ways. They're overfunded. They're at $2,306 out of an $1,800 goal. And they've got about, by the time you hear this episode, they've got about 6 or so days. They end the 6th of December. So make sure you check it out on the Kickstarters. And then last but not least, we've also got Side Effects, which is a really fun game. And this was backed by Eduardo Barif. And I know the Unfiltered Gamer did a review on it. Use drugs and therapy to treat your psyche in this beautifully illustrated card game for 2 to 8 players. I really love this interview. If you haven't heard it, go back and listen. It was a really fun one. We had 4 other people besides me, GamerLeaf, on it. It was really a fun time. And by the time you hear this, they've got about a week to go or whatnot, because it ends Thursday, December 7th. So check it out on the Kickstarter. We'll make sure we leave links for you in the show notes and all these. And if you like our show, make sure you go ahead and give us a review on iTunes. Also share it around with your friends, family, enemies, even if because then maybe you won't be enemies anymore. And once again, if you don't have an iTunes account, no worries. You probably have a friend with an iPhone or an iPad. While they're not looking nicely, get it? Put your review about Getting Geeky with Game Relief on, and then give it back to them. And this way, when they decide they like our show, how much they like it, they won't have to leave a review. And they can go take somebody else's phone. It's like an endless circle. And then we will have everybody in the whole world reviewing Getting Geeky with Game Relief. Thank you for that. And yeah, I'm really excited about the new episodes we're going to be doing with Sky Carlisle about Kickstarter and what people have learned and what you can do to make your Kickstarter better and hopefully fund. He's done a lot of great projects. He's working with White Wizard Games. He's been helping them for quite some time now. I want to say 3 years or so in getting their projects funded or whatnot. He's actually the one that lined us up with to be able to talk with the creator of White Wizard Games. And yeah, so that was fun, exciting, and all that hagamaloo. Well, anyways, yeah, he was the one that helped us get that, so that was really fun to be able to do that, to talk with Rob Daughtery. That's his name, Rob Daughtery. My memory escapes me too many of the times. Anyways, this has been your show, Getting Geeky with Game Relief, and we'll just give a quick shout out to all of the great people in our network. We've got Ryan Kamek. He is part of our network. He is the Giveaway Geek. You've probably seen him giving stuff away. Check out his website. And also we've got the Board Game News, Helena from there. She's in our network. And Joshua Burall, who is Logan Chops Reviews. He finally created a Facebook page. So if you're able to, go ahead and give it a like. Let's see if we can help him get the numbers we got. We got over 600. He's got more YouTube subs than us, but we've got more Facebook likes than him. So let's help speed him along. Now, I've got to go get Snack Leaf, get him out of school, and let the kids play outside a little bit. But this has been Getting Geeky with Game Relief. We'll catch you all on the, you guessed it, flip side.
Gamer Leaf levels up. Tune in next week to see if Gamer Leaf's luck holds up.